Take a look around your kitchen, and there's likely a chance that some of the foods you see include chemicals that are banned in other countries.
Picture this. You roll your cart through Costco's massive doors, breathing in that signature scent of rotisserie chicken mixed with unlimited possibility. Mountains of vitamins promise vitality. Organic snacks whisper wellness. Protein bars practically flex at you from their bulk-sized boxes. You tell yourself this warehouse is America's fortress of health, where smart shoppers fuel their families with the good stuff. But here's what'll stop you mid-aisle. Across the Atlantic, European regulators looked at half these products and said absolutely not. Not, we're concerned. Not, under review. Flat out rejected. While American families load their carts with confidence, European officials see warning signs flashing in neon. The reason comes down to two completely different philosophies about what belongs in your body. Europe plays defense, blocking ingredients when doubt creeps in. America plays offense, waiting for undeniable proof of harm before pulling anything from shelves. One system asks, can you prove it's safe? The other asks, can you prove it's dangerous? That gap creates a wild situation where the same companies sell cleaner formulas overseas, while Americans get the unfiltered version. Today, we're walking through Costco's aisles with European eyes, uncovering what they refuse to stock and why it might change how you shop forever. If even one item here makes you think twice, hit that like button and subscribe. We believe smart spending starts with knowing exactly what you're buying. Let's kick things off in the supplement aisle, where Kirkland's signature protein bars sit stacked like fitness gospel. The packaging promises everything today's health-conscious shopper wants. High protein? Check. Low sugar? Absolutely. Gluten-free? You bet. Guilt-free? Well, that's where things get interesting. These bars have become the unofficial fuel of gym bags and office drawers across America. Pop one after a workout. Throw one in your kid's lunchbox. Keep a stash in your car for emergencies. They look like responsibility in wrapper form. But if you tried selling these in Europe with their current formula, you'd need to plaster them with warnings that would make cigarette labels jealous. The culprits hiding behind those impressive nutrition numbers are sucralose and acesulfame potassium, two artificial sweeteners that Europe monitors with serious side-eye. Now, they haven't outright banned these compounds, but European food authorities demand much stricter oversight because research keeps raising uncomfortable questions. Sucralose doesn't just sweeten your snack, it barges into your digestive system and starts rearranging the furniture, disrupting the delicate balance of gut bacteria that keeps everything running smoothly. Even more concerning, studies suggest it messes with insulin sensitivity, which is darkly ironic considering most people eat these bars specifically to avoid blood sugar spikes. Then, there's that impressive 16 grams of fiber that makes the nutrition label look virtuous. Except that fiber didn't come from oats, seeds, or anything your grandmother would recognize as food. It's extracted, isolated, and engineered in ways that turn your intestines into a protest march. The result feels less like nourishment and more like your digestive system hired a very angry marching band. Europeans take one look at this formula and ask a simple question. If we can get protein and fiber from actual food, why are we eating chemistry experiments? Americans, meanwhile, keep buying them by the case, convinced that anything labeled low sugar and high protein must be fueling wellness. The bars sell health. What they deliver is considerably more complicated. Now let's glide over to something most people never think twice about. You reach for that can of Kirkland vegetable oil cooking spray, the same one that's probably been in your pantry for months. It promises convenience, claims to be heart healthy, and makes cleanup easier. Perfect, right? Except here's the part the label doesn't exactly advertise. The oil itself is fine. What's questionable are the chemicals that make it spray. Flip that can around, and you'll find three ingredients that might sound familiar, from another context entirely: butane, propane, and isobutane. Yes, those propane tanks. The same stuff that fires up your backyard grill and fuels your camping stove now sits in your cooking spray, ready to mist your morning eggs. The FDA classified these propellants as generally recognized as safe, which is regulatory speak for probably fine, we think. They argue that most of the gas dissipates into the air the moment you spray, leaving only trace amounts behind. Europe looked at the same data and reached a different conclusion. Their regulators worry about inhalation risks, especially in enclosed kitchens where that mist hangs in the air longer than you'd think. They question whether those trace residues really are as harmless as claimed when you're using this stuff daily for years. But here's the truly wild part. See that 0-calorie claim plastered on the front? It's not technically a lie, but it's definitely not the truth. The serving size is defined as a quarter-second spray, 1/4 of 1 second. You'd need the reflexes of a fighter pilot and a stopwatch to hit that mark. For normal humans cooking actual food, that 0-calorie spray becomes 60 calories before you know it, plus your bonus serving of camping fuel residue. European regulators saw this serving size trick and called it what it is: creative math designed to mislead. They prefer their cooking oils to come without propellants and without the mental gymnastics required to calculate real nutritional content. Meanwhile, American kitchens keep misting their pans with substances that could theoretically start a fire if you weren't careful with the nozzle. The snack aisle brings us to something that looks almost criminally innocent. Annie's organic bunny fruit snacks hop off the shelf in their cheerful packaging, promising real fruit juice and organic goodness. The cute little rabbits suggest wholesomeness. The word organic triggers that warm glow of responsible parenting. Kids grab them by the handful, parents pack them in lunchboxes, and everyone feels like they made the healthier choice compared to conventional candy. Then you get to Europe, and suddenly these harmless bunnies can't hop anywhere. The vibrant colors that make kids beg for more come from red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. A trio of synthetic dyes known in Europe as part of the Southampton 6, named after the research university that linked them to behavioral problems in children. Since 2010, European law has required any product containing these dyes to carry a warning label stating they may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Imagine that on your organic fruit snacks. A literal disclaimer that says, "This might make your kid bouncy and unfocused." American parents get no such heads up. The dyes are legal, the packaging is colorful, and the word organic creates a health halo that distracts from what's actually inside. Here's the infuriating part. Companies like Mars know exactly how to make these products without synthetic dyes. Your European M&Ms and Skittles use natural coloring extracted from plants. Same candy, same taste, different ingredients. Those companies proved they can do better. They just don't have to do better for American consumers. So they don't. And Annie's organic label, it only covers some of the ingredients. The dyes, the additives, the synthetic bits all slip through, because organic refers to how certain base ingredients were grown, not the final formulated product. It's like calling a donut a health food because you used organic flour. The rest of the recipe still matters, but the marketing hopes you won't notice. A few shelves down, you'll spot Veggie straws practically glowing with virtue. The bag screams health from every angle. Bright vegetable graphics. The word Veggie in bold letters claims about being baked, not fried. Parents grab them thinking they're sneaking nutrition into snack time. A clever way to get kids eating vegetables without the usual dinner table battles. Open that bag and reality hits different. What you're actually eating is potato starch mixed with cornstarch, fried in oil, then dusted with just enough powdered vegetables to legally use the word on packaging. We're talking trace amounts, the kind of vegetable presence that's more spiritual than nutritional. These things have less fiber than a slice of white bread, which is genuinely impressive when you consider white bread is the poster child for nutritionally empty carbs. The vegetables on that bag exist in greater quantity on the package design than inside the actual product. European regulators would have a field day with this marketing. Their truth in labeling laws demand that pictures match contents. If your bag shows tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens, the product inside better contain meaningful amounts of tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens, not their powdered ghosts. In the US, this passes without comment. The package technically doesn't lie. It just creates an impression that happens to be wildly misleading. The colors come from artificial dyes. The flavor is engineered in labs. The nutrition is fiction, but Americans buy them by the case. genuinely believing they've found a compromise between health and convenience, when what they've actually found is the same junk food with better branding. Europe looked at the formula and said thanks, but we already have cardboard if we want something that crunchy and empty. Moving to the bakery section, we encounter something that genuinely surprises people because it looks so aggressively wholesome. Dave's Killer Bread shows up with attitude, covered in seeds and grains, boasting about its 21 whole grains and organic ingredients. The backstory is inspiring. The texture is substantial. Everything about it screams, "I care about my health." It's become the gold standard for people who want bread that does more than just hold sandwich fillings together. So why does Europe pump the brakes? It's not what the bread contains, but how much of it you're getting. American food policy mandates that flour be fortified with synthetic folic acid, a practice designed to prevent neural tube defects in developing babies. The intention is genuinely good. The execution creates a different problem. Each slice of Dave's Killer Bread delivers about 25% of your recommended daily intake of folic acid. Make a sandwich, and you're halfway to your limit before lunch. Add a fortified breakfast cereal and an afternoon protein bar that's also fortified, and suddenly, you've blown past 200% of the recommended amount before dinner arrives. Europe watched this mandatory fortification approach and said, hold on. They place strict caps on how much synthetic folic acid can be added, because studies have started hinting at potential problems when intake gets too high. Some research suggests excessive folic acid might be linked to certain cancers, though the data remains under investigation. The European approach is simple. If there's doubt, exercise caution. Let people get folate from actual food sources like leafy greens and legumes, rather than turning every grain product into a vitamin delivery system. America's philosophy is different. Sonates, fortify everything until proven harmful, treating food as medicine without requiring medical supervision. By European standards, eating American fortified foods doesn't count as breakfast. It counts as running your own unlicensed pharmacy. The UK only introduced mandatory folic acid fortification in 2024, set to start in 2026, and even then with more careful limits than the US has ever considered. Dave's Bread might be killer in name, but its vitamin load raises European eyebrows. The refrigerated section brings us to Naked Juice, specifically that bottle of Green Machine that seems to glow with promises of vitality. The label lists fruits and vegetables like a farmer's market manifest. No sugar added, antioxidants, the kind of thing you grab when you're trying to shortcut your way to 5 servings of produce. It looks so healthy it could probably lower your blood pressure just from reading the label. Europeans took one look at these bottles and banned them faster than you can say marketing deception. The first problem is sugar. That bottle contains over 50 grams of the stuff, which means it has more sugar than a can of Coca-Cola. Yes, it's natural fruit sugar rather than added sweetener, but your body doesn't particularly care about the source when it's processing that glucose tsunami. In 2012, the European Union banned adding sugar to fruit juice entirely because they recognized that liquid sugar hits your bloodstream faster and harder than almost any other form. Even natural fruit sugar becomes problematic when you're drinking concentrated amounts without the fiber that whole fruit provides to slow absorption. That's before we get to the synthetic vitamins. Some forms of vitamin E and vitamin D used in these drinks raised enough red flags in Europe that regulators banned them from beverages after safety questions piled up. Americans chug them, thinking they're getting healthier with every sip. Then, there's the natural flavors loophole, which might be the sneakiest trick in the entire food industry. That innocent-sounding phrase can legally hide up to 100 different chemically processed ingredients. As long as they started from something natural at some point in their laboratory journey, companies can group them under one friendly term that suggests simplicity. European regulations demand specificity. If you can't or won't identify an ingredient clearly, you can't sell it as health food. Even that vibrant green color gets an artificial boost because natural vegetable color tends to be less photogenic. Europe said this entire operation is a chemistry lab wearing a yoga outfit, trying to pass as nutrition. Americans keep buying it by the gallon, convinced each bottle is bringing them closer to optimal health. The marketing works. The nutrition doesn't. The next stop might surprise you because it seems so basic. You grab that tub of Kirkland organic peanut butter, reading the ingredient list with satisfaction. Organic peanuts and salt. That's it. 2 ingredients. Nothing artificial, nothing suspicious, nothing to worry about. Except there's something the ingredient list can't show you. Something that grows in the silence between harvest and jar. We're talking about aflatoxins. Toxic compounds produced by mold that naturally forms on peanuts stored in warm, humid conditions. This isn't some rare contamination event. It's a persistent challenge in peanut agriculture, and every batch carries some level of risk. The question becomes how much of this natural toxin different countries are willing to accept. The US allows certain levels, arguing that trace amounts are manageable and that completely eliminating aflatoxins is effectively impossible. Europe takes a dramatically different position. Their tolerance level for aflatoxin B1, the most dangerous form, sits between 2 to 4 micrograms per kilogram. For total aflatoxins, they cap it at 10 micrograms per kilogram. Compare that to American standards, and you'll find the US is considerably more generous with what they consider acceptable. Why does this matter? Because aflatoxins are linked to liver damage and cancer with long-term exposure. Sure, a single serving won't hurt you, but Americans eat peanut butter like it's a food group, spreading it on toast, mixing it into smoothies, eating it straight from the jar at midnight. That cumulative exposure adds up differently when your tolerance levels are higher. European regulators also test differently. They screen every batch and every shipment, treating aflatoxin contamination as unacceptable rather than inevitable. American testing is more like checking a sample and hoping it represents the whole batch, crossing fingers that nothing got missed. To their credit, there's never been a documented human illness outbreak from aflatoxins in US peanut butter. But Europe looks at that and says, why gamble at all when we can test more thoroughly and set stricter limits? Your organic label can't save you from this one. Organic refers to how the peanuts were grown, not whether mold found them during storage. That tub might say 2 ingredients, but what you can't see might be the most concerning thing in your pantry. Let's pivot to the supplement aisle one more time, because Kirkland Daily multivitamins deserve their own moment of scrutiny. The bottles are bright, the promises are bold, and the nutrient panel lists enough vitamins and minerals to make you feel like you're biohacking your way to superhuman health. Pop one daily, and you're supposedly optimizing everything from your immune system to your energy levels. Look closer, and you'll find something that sounds like it belongs in a sci-fi novel: titanium dioxide. This ingredient serves exactly one purpose, and it has nothing to do with your health. It's there to make the pills bright, white, and shiny. Pure cosmetic appeal, zero nutritional value. You could remove it entirely, and the vitamin would work exactly the same, but it wouldn't look as impressive on your bathroom counter. In August 2022, the European Union banned titanium dioxide as a food additive after their safety authority reviewed thousands of studies and reached an uncomfortable conclusion. They couldn't rule out genotoxicity, which is a clinical way of saying this might damage your DNA. The particles are small enough that they can accumulate in your body over time, building up with each dose rather than being fully eliminated. Long-term accumulation of something that might alter your genetic material is not a risk European regulators were willing to take, especially when the only benefit is making vitamins prettier. American companies kept using it because the FDA hasn't reached the same conclusion. As long as there's no definitive proof of harm, it stays on the shelf. The problem gets worse when you realize many of these multivitamins also pack synthetic dyes and over-fortified nutrients that push your intake above safe levels. If you're also eating fortified bread, fortified cereal, and fortified snack bars throughout the day, you're not optimizing your nutrition. You're running an unsupervised supplement trial with yourself as the test subject. Europeans trust their vitamins to work without sparkle. Americans trust companies who prioritize appearance over long-term safety data. And the wildest part is that companies could reformulate these vitamins tomorrow, removing the titanium dioxide without affecting efficacy at all. They just haven't been forced to yet. So why bother with the expense of changing? The fitness aisle brings us to organic protein powder, the holy grail of health-conscious Americans trying to build muscle and recover faster. The tubs promise clean ingredients, organic sources, and doctor-formulated excellence. Plant-based options especially wear their virtue openly, suggesting that by choosing pea or rice, protein over whey, you're making the enlightened choice. European officials picked up these containers, read the labels, tested the contents, and found some genuinely alarming gaps between marketing and reality. First problem, carrageenan, a thickener derived from seaweed that sounds natural, but acts like a troublemaker in your digestive system. Studies linked it to inflammation and gastrointestinal distress, which is why the EU banned it from infant formula entirely. They decided that something marketed as gut-friendly probably shouldn't cause stomach rebellion. It remains legal in other foods, but the infant formula ban signals clear concern. American protein powders keep using it because it creates that thick, creamy texture people expect, and there's no requirement to remove it. Then comes the heavy metal problem, which sounds like a rock concert, but is actually much more sinister. Independent laboratory tests found lead, cadmium, and arsenic in numerous protein powder samples at levels that exceeded California's Prop 65 safety limits. We're not talking about glow-in-the-dark contamination, but enough to raise serious concerns, especially for people drinking this stuff daily. Plant-based protein powders were the worst offenders, containing roughly 3 times more lead than whey-based alternatives. Europe maintains much tighter limits on heavy metal contamination in food products. If your protein powder can't pass those standards, it doesn't get sold, period. American standards are more flexible, which is a polite way of saying less protective. The final insult is that natural flavors catch-all phrase that appears on nearly every protein powder label. Same trick as before, legally hiding dozens of processed ingredients under one friendly term. European regulators demand transparency. If you can't identify what's flavoring your powder, you don't get to call it clean and organic. Americans keep scooping this powder into post-workout smoothies, trusting labels that technically don't lie, but definitely don't tell the whole truth either. Those canisters sit next to the dumbbells and foam rollers, suggesting athletic excellence. What they actually deliver is a grab bag of additives, metals, and mystery ingredients that Europe looked at and said absolutely not in our fitness centers. The dairy section wraps up our tour with Kirkland Greek yogurt, those tubs with pictures that practically transport you to the Mediterranean. White buildings, blue domes, fruit swirls that look like something from a coastal villa. The label says authentic Greek taste, and Americans believe it because why would the packaging lie? Europeans know better because they actually understand what Greek yogurt is supposed to be. Traditional Greek yogurt gets made through a straining process that removes liquid whey, concentrating the protein and creating that thick, creamy texture naturally. Modern European producers might use centrifuges or membrane filters, but the point is the same: concentration through removal of liquid, not through addition of chemicals. American Greek yogurt often skips that step entirely, using thickeners and stabilizers like pectin and gelatin to fake the texture. It's cheaper and faster, which is why so many brands take that shortcut. The UK courts actually ruled that calling a product Greek yogurt means it must be made in Greece. Products made elsewhere have to say Greek style because false geographic claims aren't acceptable. The US has no such legal definition, which means 2 products sitting next to each other can have wildly different production methods while both claiming to be Greek yogurt. The flavored varieties get even messier. High fructose corn syrup shows up regularly, turning your healthy breakfast into dessert without updating the marketing. Those colorful fruit swirls contain red 40 and yellow 6, the same synthetic dyes that require hyperactivity warnings on European children's products. The probiotic count that's supposed to be yogurt's biggest health benefit often takes a hit during mass production processing. By the time these tubs reach Costco shelves, those beneficial bacteria have diminished to the point where your gut barely notices them arriving. Europeans eating real Greek yogurt get active cultures that actually colonize and support digestive health. Americans get a probiotic ghost town with artificially thick texture. Your spoon might feel satisfied, but your digestive system knows it got the knockoff version. European standards would call this product a lot of things, but authentic Greek yogurt isn't one of them. Here's what becomes impossible to ignore after walking through these aisles with clear eyes. This isn't random. It's not coincidence that Europe restricts or bans so many things Americans consume daily. it's a fundamental difference in philosophy. European regulators operate on the precautionary principle. If credible studies raise concerns, restrict the ingredient until better data proves it's safe. American regulators flip that burden. Keep selling until definitive harm is proven beyond doubt. One system treats citizens as people to protect. The other treats them as volunteers in an ongoing experiment. The most infuriating part isn't that these ingredients exist. It's that many of these same companies already make cleaner versions for European markets. They know how to formulate without titanium dioxide. They've figured out natural food coloring. They can make actual Greek yogurt when regulations demand it. The capability exists. The willingness doesn't, because American regulations don't require the effort. Why reformulate at extra cost when the current formula sells perfectly well? The label says organic, and shoppers assume that means safe. The package shows vegetables, and buyers believe they're eating health food. The marketing works, so the formula stays. This creates a bizarre situation where your health depends partly on which continent you're shopping on. The same brand makes one product for Frankfurt and a different version for Phoenix. Not because Germans have different biology, but because German regulators have different standards. Americans have somehow become test subjects without consenting to the trial, loading carts with products that European officials looked at and confidently rejected. The membership card gives you access to bulk deals and free samples. What it doesn't give you is the protection that European consumers take for granted. None of this means you need to fear Costco or panic about everything in your pantry. But it does mean that words like organic, healthy, and natural don't guarantee what you think they guarantee. Labels can be technically truthful while being fundamentally misleading. Legal doesn't automatically mean optimal for your long-term health. The smartest thing any shopper can do is exactly what you're doing right now. Learning what's actually in these products, understanding why other countries said no, and making decisions with complete information rather than clever marketing. If this deep dive into Costco's European banned list shocked you even once, do 3 things. First, smash that like button, because this information needs to reach every shopper who thinks the word organic is enough protection. Second, subscribe to Frugal Pro and turn on notifications, because we're going to keep peeling back labels and exposing the gaps between marketing promises and ingredient reality. Third, drop a comment telling us which product surprised you most. Was it the protein bars with enough fiber to stage an intestinal revolt? The cooking spray made from camping fuel? The Greek yogurt that can't legally use that name in Europe? Let us know, because understanding what shocked you helps us know what to investigate next. At Frugal Pro, spending smart starts with knowing the truth about every product we're told to trust. Health shouldn't depend on your postal code. Safety standards shouldn't change based on which country's regulations companies feel like following. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember that just because something's legal doesn't mean it's serving your best interest. See you in the next investigation, where we'll keep pulling back the curtain on foods hiding in plain sight.